Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Hunterdon County Farm to Fork. I'm Sandra, Family and Community Health Sciences Educator for Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Hunterdon County. And I'm here today to talk to you about beautiful asparagus. So I hope you caught Megan's video last week where she told us so many great facts about cultivating asparagus. And I learned actually something I didn't know. I did not know that New Jersey was one of the top asparagus producing states in the United States. So go New Jersey. So today I have a very simple and delicious recipe using beautiful spring asparagus. But as always, let's talk a little bit about the nutrition. So asparagus is like most vegetables, especially green vegetables, high in vitamins A and vitamin C. And asparagus is also a really good source of vitamin K. A 1 cup serving of asparagus has about 70% of your daily requirement for vitamin K. And remember, that vitamin is really important in proper blood clotting in our bodies. Asparagus is also a good source of fiber, and it's rich in several important minerals. In particular, it's high in iron. That 1 cup serving of asparagus has about 16% of our daily requirement for iron, and that's pretty good for a vegetable. It's also high in copper, and a 1 cup serving of asparagus has about 3 grams of fiber. So a lot of great reasons to include asparagus in your daily food intake, but I think of asparagus as a really elegant vegetable to serve, although it's pretty easy to prepare. So today I'm going to prepare it in one of my favorite ways, just simply roasting the asparagus spears with some beautiful grape tomatoes and just lightly splashing some olive oil and your favorite varieties of seasonings, whatever you like. But some people will ask, well, how do you store and prepare or clean asparagus? So I like to store them once I have the spears at home. I like to store them with a wet paper towel around the bottoms, the cut ends, so that they stay moist. And I would put this whole thing into a plastic bag and keep it in the refrigerator for a couple days. They will stay pretty well for a couple days. I mean, obviously they're best and crispest when they're first either cut, if you're growing your own asparagus, if you're lucky enough to do that, or if you get them from the farmer's market or from the food store. But I've had these in my refrigerator for several days as I was getting ready to prepare this video for you today. So one of the things that you need to do when you're preparing asparagus is really to either cut or snap off the tough bottom end. So a lot of people prefer the snap method. So I'm hoping that these will still snap for me. So let's try. This one has a pretty thick bottom end that you would definitely want to remove, before you consume it. So let's see. Yes. So probably would have snapped better a couple days ago, but the tough part, it really snapped right at the beginning of the tough fibrous-y part. So let's try 1 or 2 others. This one looks a little bit, let's try this one. So I'm just putting my thumbs where I think it might snap and pressing. Okay, that was pretty good. If you have any that are a little bit rubbery and they don't seem to want to snap on you, like this one, just take a simple knife and just cut off that woody end. And that's what I actually did with the rest of them. Sometimes I think you can waste a little too much with the snap method, and it really depends on how fussy your consumers are about the little bit tougher end of the asparagus, but there's a lot of fiber in that asparagus stalk, so choose whatever method works for you. Again, when they're very, very fresh, they will snap really easily. So what I'm going to do today since I really just want to feature the beautiful, rich flavor of the asparagus spears, is I'm just going to do a simple roasted asparagus recipe. I love roasting vegetables. I think it's such an easy way to highlight the real essence of flavor of the vegetable that you're preparing, because you don't need to boil it in any water where you might waste some nutrients or waste some of the flavor that might dissolve into the water. Roasting is going to really concentrate the flavors. And asparagus spears roast pretty quickly. You can roast them to they're just tender in 20 to 30 minutes. So all I'm going to do, I've already washed and cleaned my asparagus spears, so I'm just going to lay them on my baking sheet, which I have put a piece of parchment paper on for easy cleanup. I'm also a big fan of parchment paper. You want to leave space between them so that they have plenty of heat flow around the asparagus spears. You don't want them to steam so much as you want them to really roast. So I also thought it would be really nice, sort of that Mediterranean influence of our asparagus spears. I have some really nice, they're not my homegrown yet, but some really nice little mini pear-shaped tomatoes or elongated cherries. So I'm just going to intersperse those around the spears, and when these roast, they will get soft, and the flavor of the asparagus and the tomatoes is going to concentrate. So the tomatoes will get that luscious, thick, pulpy texture, and the flavor will be really enhanced. If you like, you can very finely chop some garlic, some fresh garlic. I'm not going to be putting any garlic on mine today, but you can definitely do that. I have also, for later, like in the last maybe 5 minutes of roasting, some slivered almonds. You could also do pine nuts. You could do chopped walnuts. It really does give the dish that elegant Mediterranean touch. But you don't want to put them on now because some of them may burn, being just in the oven too long with the heat directly on them, because nuts do burn quickly. So I would, if you're going to put nuts on, put them on in like the last 5 minutes of roasting. And what am I going to drizzle on my pan of asparagus and grape tomatoes? I'm choosing just to do some olive oil, some extra virgin olive oil, which I will lightly sprinkle on. So I'll do that right now. You don't really need to marinate them, just a light sprinkle. That's all you need. And then I'm choosing for my seasoning, I am watching the salt or sodium in my diet. So I am choosing just a no salt herb and spice mix. You can use whatever you like. So I'm just going to lightly sprinkle that on. Always check, if you're watching your sodium intake, on combination seasoning mixes, always look to make sure that there is not any added sodium. That can be a little tricky on some mixes. So I've just added a little bit of that. And believe it or not, these are ready to go into the oven. So I will roast these at my oven. I like to use 375. If you use 400, you really need to just pay attention that you're not over roasting them. So I'm going to pop these into my oven at 375, and I'm going to check them at about the 10-minute mark. Just put a fork into one of the spears and see if it's getting tender, but you definitely want it to be not mushy. You would like it to have some body left in it, but you definitely want them to be cooked. So I'm going to put them in my oven, and then I will be back to show you the finished product. So I hope you could see how delicious that recipe turned out with the picture that I included of the roasted Mediterranean asparagus with grape tomatoes. Before I leave, I want to go over the trivia question that went along with my video this week. And it's something you may have wondered about, but maybe you were too embarrassed to seek out the answer to the question. So I have it here for you this week. So here it goes. One side effect of eating asparagus can be a distinctive smelling urine, which you may have noticed. And this will happen shortly after eating. The breakdown of a compound called asparagusic acid during your digestion of asparagus is linked to this odor. Now, here's the question. What type of byproduct of asparagusic acid is responsible? It's a multiple choice. Is it a phosphorus compound? Is it a sulfur compound? Or is it a manganese compound? So phosphorus, sulfur, or manganese? Which do you think it is? Well, if you answered sulfur compound, you are correct. Sulfur compounds are responsible for this particular relatively unpleasant odor associated with asparagus eating, but those compounds are also contained in other odoriferous vegetables that you might love, such as cabbage, garlic, and other members of the cabbage family, like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, and that whole family. So the effect on your urine is temporary, and the only way to really hasten it along is possibly to dilute it by drinking a lot of water. So that's your body in action, digesting not just the asparagusic acid in asparagus, but all the other wonderful vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that are contained in this great vegetable. So just a little bit of something to wow people with at your next trivia party. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Hunterdon County Farm to Fork, and I hope you catch Megan's next video, which will be next Friday, and then I will follow her the following Friday with a brand new recipe for a locally grown and seasonal produce. So I will see you then.